Americans pay more for healthcare than any other country in the world, yet rank near the bottom for outcomes when compared to other developed nations. Can you believe that? That is crazy. I have personal experience in the US and here in Spain, so in Europe, with healthcare. And the experiences are completely different. So, this is going to be a good video that's going to give us a little insight to someone's story when they visited Germany, I believe. And this is my healthcare experience in Europe as an American. Life of Karl is the name of the channel. I will include a link in the description so you can head on over there and do all the YouTube stuff, support their channel. I'm sure they will appreciate that. This is going to be interesting. I always get fired up when I talk about healthcare because it really was one of the main reasons that we left the United States, because of some of the things that we were experiencing there with healthcare. So before we get going here, go ahead and like the video. That really does help a lot. Let's see what we can see.
Hey guys, so I'm going to talk about my healthcare experience when I went to Europe. So I just got back from a trip to Europe. I went to Barcelona in Spain, and then I flew to Amsterdam. I was in Barcelona for a week. I was in Amsterdam for a week too, and then I went to Vals, which is in southern Holland, for my uncle's wedding. And I went to Mönchengladbach, Germany, for 2 days, and then I flew back home.
I think he said that pretty good. My Germans agree with that. That sounded good. 2 days in Germany.
So when I was in Amsterdam, I hurt my foot. I went dancing for too long in a nightclub. And the next morning when I woke up, my foot was like, it hurt really bad. It really felt like someone had like taken a hammer and almost smashed right behind my toes on my left foot. And it was swollen, but there was no marking, so it really, I was kind of confused. I was like, why does it hurt? And I guess I just had overstressed it. So I took it easy for a couple days, and then I decided, then I went on a walking tour of Amsterdam. I did a guided tour of the red light district and this like museum tour and stuff like that.
I would be willing to bet that he took it easy for a couple of days because he's an American who had experience with healthcare. And you know that if you go in there, like, you just try and make it work as long as you can, because it's going to cost. Even if you have a copay for your health insurance, it's going to cost you. So that's probably why he decided not to go in. Whereas what I've learned being out here, it's like, if something's not right, I'm just going to the hospital or to the doctor, because I don't have to worry about cost or anything like that. And they have amazing quality of healthcare.
So I was walking around for like 2 hours straight, and normally that's no problem. I walked like 6 miles a day when I was in Barcelona, and I'd been biking around all the time in Amsterdam. But by the end of the walking tour, my foot was just hurting really badly, and I was limping, and I knew it was no good. So the next day I drove with my uncle to Vals because we were going there for his wedding, and not much improvement at all. I think I waited one more day, and then on the day of the wedding was starting at like 1:32, something like that. I was like, okay, I gotta go to the doctor. It's not improving. It's getting bad. So I was at a hotel, so I asked the hotel reception, where's the nearest doctor? So they pointed out on the map for me, and it was like a block or 2 blocks away. I think it was 3 blocks. So I called them up, and the recording line was in Dutch, so I had no idea. I speak German and Spanish pretty well, but
I knew he sounded good when he was saying those words in German.
I can't speak Dutch, so I had no idea what they were saying on the recording line. So I said, screw it, I'm just gonna go straight there. So it was I think it was around 9-10 o'clock in the morning, something like that, on a Thursday. And I walked there. I limped to the doctor's office. So I get there, and I check in, and I just go up to the desk and I say, hey, how's it going? I got this problem, blah blah blah. They take my ID, they scan it, they tell me that it's going to be 25 euros for the doctor to check me out.
Wow.
So keep in mind, you know, I'm an American citizen. I live in California. I have health insurance here, but I don't have, you know, it's not international health insurance. So I'm over there. I am not a citizen, and I have no health insurance. So they tell me, okay, so it's going to be 25 euros for the doctor to see you. So I say, okay, all right. That's like what a copay is in America.
Yeah.
So I go. I had to get cash.
And a copay in America just means that they're going to see you. The insurance company still has to approve whatever you're having done on the back end. So you can pay your little $25, or in this case, 25 euros. Well, I'll say $25 because this is in America. You can pay your $25, but you might have a bill on the back end if the insurance doesn't approve whatever you went in there for, or if they only cover a certain amount of it. I know because I had that happen. Thousands of dollars worth.
They wanted me to pay it in cash. So I was like, that's fine. So there's an ATM across the street. So I went and got the cash, and then I waited probably like 10 minutes, maybe. It might have even been less than that. It was like 10, 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. I went and saw the doctor. She examined my foot. You know, she did a thorough job. She looked at it. She said, you know, she asked me questions, blah, blah, blah. She looked at my other foot to compare. My left one was kind of swollen and blah, blah, blah. So she looked at the foot. She said, okay, I think you need an x-ray. I think it has like a stress fracture. And, you know, she heard my whole story and everything. She said, I don't have an x-ray machine here, but I can write you an x-ray recommendation for a hospital. So I said, okay, that sounds good. She wrote me the recommendation, and then she said, I can give you it's like a painkiller / anti-inflammatory prescription. So I went, so I said, okay, great, that sounds good. I'll take the prescription. So she gave me the prescription. There was a pharmacy in the downstairs of the doctor's office. So I went down the elevator, went to the pharmacy. They filled my prescription, and it was 7 euros for this like painkiller / anti-inflammatory pill. So and it was funny because they said, "Oh, do you want a receipt so you can try to get your health insurance to pay for it?" And I just started laughing. I was like, you know, what's the point? You know, I'm going to spend like an hour on the phone to try to get 5 euros from the insurance company or whatever.
We had this happen here in Spain. My oldest son rides skateboards, so he's broken a few bones here and there, but he hurt himself. He thought he had broken his ankle, and we went into the hospital. We got to the hospital. The doctor saw him. They went to put a cast on. I mean, we did everything, and it didn't cost us anything. We do pay about 250 euros per month for 4 of us. Where in the United States, I was paying 1,000 for just Lisa and myself. So we pay that 250 a month. We do pay that. But when he went in there, there was nothing that we had to pay for. He got an x-ray, he got the cast, he got all of those things. And then I feel like he was supposed to come back a week later, I believe. But after we did all that, then we did have to pay for the crutches he had to have. He just needed one, so we had to buy that at the pharmacy, Farmacia. But that was it. That's all we had to pay for. They gave him prescription. Oh, we did have to pay for a prescription too. I don't remember how much it was, but it wasn't a lot.
Whatever. So he's like, no, it's fine, don't worry. So I had the painkiller, and I had the doctor, the recommendation for an x-ray. Okay, so the next day, so the wedding happens. The next day, my foot's actually feeling a little better, probably due to the pill she had given me. And so I'm driving with my relatives to Mönchengladbach, which is pretty close to the German Dutch border. So my aunt, my great aunt, she takes me to the basically the emergency room in her town, Mönchengladbach. So I go there. they had me fill out a little bit of paperwork. They like photocopied my ID. I signed a couple things. So I go to get the X-ray, and First, I'll tell you how long I waited. First,
Oh, okay.
I check in, then I go back to the emergency room. I probably waited about a half hour. I think I made like a phone call, and I read a couple news articles on my phone. But it was a half hour, and this is an emergency room.
Right. Do you hear the shock in his voice? I mean, there's been stories of people who die in the emergency room in the United States because there are a lot of people, and I used to sell health insurance, Medicare, and there are a lot of people who go to the emergency room, even though it's almost like they use it as a primary doctor because they know that they have to see you in the emergency room, and cost is really not the concern. I mean, this is what happens. This is what people tell me. They'll just go to the emergency room. And so it just makes the waits super long. And I mean, I don't know. I've never done that, but people tell me that that's what they do. So it makes the waits super long. So sometimes people don't get treated. It takes a while for them to get treated. I mean, you go to the emergency. I know in the US, my older son had a concussion, and we went to the emergency room, and because he like didn't remember anything, he kept asking the same questions over and over. So we went there, and I don't know, it was probably a good 4 or 5 hours before they were able to see him or something like that. I don't know. It's just crazy. So that is something that's pretty interesting, how that's probably what he was thinking. Like, that's why he's shocked. It only took him a half an hour. And out here, when we had to go in for my son, it didn't take us very long at all. And one thing I remember, he came back. I think he went back a week later, my son here in Spain, when he hurt his ankle. And then they took an X-ray. So they went in to see the doctor. The doctor said, "I'm going to send you for an X-ray," because he didn't think he saw anything or something like that. So he went and took the X-ray. And then the doctor looked at the X-ray and he said, "I don't see anything." We were like, they told us it was broken. That was only a week later, or something like that. They told us it was broken. And so he sent him to do another X-ray. And that didn't cost us anything extra for him to do that. So that's just a huge difference in what we're used to.
And again, I have no insurance, and I'm not a German citizen.
Oh,
so
that's crazy.
Go there. I wait about a half hour. I go and see the doctor. The doctor examines me again. I tell her the whole story. Then she says, "Okay, we're going to give you an X-ray." So I walk down to the X-ray room. They do the X-ray. I go to the reception room in the X-ray wing of the hospital, and they say, "Okay, your charge is 20 euros for the X-ray." So
wow.
I'm like, "All right, great. That sounds good. 20 euros. So I go back up. They look at my X-ray. They say, "Okay, you don't have a stress fracture, but you need to take it easy for a bit." They're like, "You have lots of inflammation, and you just got to take it easy, and etc." So they give me this. They give me like a pain cream, and they wrap my foot up, and they send me on my way. So I leave the hospital, and I tell my aunt, I'm like, "Yeah, they only charged me 20 euros." And she, you know how the Germans are. She's like, "Oh, that's not right. You probably owe a little more." So I was like, "All right, whatever." So we go back to the billing office, and they determine that I owe them another 60 euros. So my total charge for visiting an emergency room in Germany was 80 euros, and that included an X-ray. So if you did the same thing in the United States and you didn't have health insurance, especially if you weren't a citizen, I'm sure the X-ray would probably cost at least $300 or $400, and then just the fact that you're in the emergency room would at least be another couple hundred. So you'd probably be at the door at 500. I show up, not a citizen, no health insurance, and they charge me 80 euros. And I was happy. I waited a half hour at the emergency room, and I waited like maybe 15 minutes at the doctor's office in Holland.
Right.
So overall, I think my experience was pretty good, and I was obviously I was happy that I didn't have a fracture, because that would have really ruined the rest of my trip. And yeah, so it was really good. But I just hope that this leads to a further discussion about the healthcare system we have in the United States, because over there they have a combo of, it's mostly universal healthcare, so it's like single payer universal healthcare where the government pays for it.
Yeah. Okay.
And in Germany,
he's talking about in Europe, I think.
You can buy, I think in Holland too, you can buy supplemental healthcare insurance. So like if you're, for some reason you're not happy with it, then you can pay extra money. But the prices are way lower. The wait times were faster, if you ask me. And what a lot of people will say, they'll say about they'll rag on the Canadian system, or they'll rag on universal healthcare systems. They'll say, oh, the wait times are forever, and you're going to get a shitty doctor and poor care.
Yeah.
And I never had that problem. And, granted, I only went to two different doctor's offices.
I mean, that is the argument that people in the U.S. make. And what I always say is that, I'd rather have it to where someone who I dealt with, in order for me to help people with Medicare, Medicaid, they had to be like, not, they didn't have a lot. Like, you couldn't have a lot and have Medicaid for sure. You have to almost be like a ward of the state in order for you to qualify for Medicaid. Medicare is different. Once you reach the age of 65, then you're able to get Medicare. But typically, people who had Medicare weren't the wealthiest people. Those people usually had some private insurance or something like that. So, you had people that aren't the wealthiest who, if I had it my way, it might take a long time, but at least they would get help instead of getting no help, which is what was happening a lot before, the Affordable Care Act was put into place. I know this is a sensitive subject, and a lot of people are going to have take issue with what I'm saying, but I just know from my own personal experience that, my boys were on the Affordable Care Act. It wasn't the best insurance, but it was better than nothing. But they had to have it because for us, for Lisa and myself, we were paying $1,000 a month. So, we didn't want to be paying $2,000 a month or something like that for all four of us. So, that is one of the gripes that he's mentioned here, that people don't like the fact that, there's long wait times. And I know, I'm not going to say that doesn't exist, because it does. I know people that are can be in the comments here saying how they, maybe lost somebody because they had to wait, or there was a long wait for them to get some type of procedure done or something like that, which I know that's a true statement. I've had people say that before. So I don't know. It's just a sensitive subject, but it is nice to be somewhere where they care about the people. And then what ends up happening is, in the U.S., it's big business. And so it doesn't benefit them to get you healthy. Just think about it. If everybody was healthy, they wouldn't have business. So they deny things. They do all kind of stuff. They used to be able to deny you if you had a pre-existing condition, whatever that was, diabetes, asthma, things like that. But
and a doctor's office in an emergency room, but yeah, that was my experience. So hopefully you can pass this on to other people and tell them, spread the truth. All right, have a good one.
He was a good guy. It's tough. I do know, I have friends in Spain, and they have told me that, the waiting rooms can be long. We have private insurance, so that's a little bit different. So we probably have a different experience. So, you can't have long waits in the waiting room and things like that, but you can get treatment. And, I just know people in the U.S. where they just can't. And the cost of I know people that ration their insulin because they can't afford to, you know, pay a lot for insulin. I think it used to be like 35 euros. And then we got a new president and some things changed and it's more than that now. Because I remember I was still selling Medicare at that time and it went from a cap of $35, it's the most anybody was paying for insulin, to now it's like 2, 3, 4, 5 times that. So over there, you know, the insurance companies have lobbyists who lobby for certain insurance laws and things like that. My personal story, which I've told before, but you know, essentially, as I was saying, I was paying $1,000 a month for at least myself, and I was having some problems with my heart. Like my heart rate was high, and I was freaking out. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor told me that, okay, we need to figure out what's going on. So there's 2 procedures you can have. One of them gives you, it's like angioplasty or something, I don't know. One of them gives you like 35% accuracy as to whether or not you have any blockage or anything. And the other one is like a 95% accuracy as to whether or not you have a blockage. And it wasn't that simple. The way he painted it was you have this $35, you have this 35% accuracy procedure accuracy procedure. And it does this and this and this and this. And then you have this one where it looks down here at the bottom of your heart, where if this happens, if something's wrong here, then, you know, you know how doctors are. I tell it to you straight. Like there's people that, you know, don't survive from this, like all that kind of stuff. So which one do you pick? I'm like 95% accuracy. I'll take that one, please. And so we had the procedure and everything. And then after being home for a few weeks, maybe, we got a letter from our insurance company, United Healthcare, saying that they denied the procedure. And we owed, I think it was like $28,000 or something like that. So I don't know. I mean, I was just so mad. I was so mad because I had spent all of that money on insurance. I thought it would have been good for something. And it's just because they decided that it was like an elective procedure and I could have gotten a 35% one or not had one at all. So, you know, I just think it's crazy because stuff happens to people. You don't know there's nobody out there that knows what kind of illness they're going to get or anything like that. And in the United States, they do not take care of their people. I mean, they have something over there right now, but in the US, they have a mentality of, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Go out and get your own insurance. You know, don't be a loser, not have insurance, stuff like that. So healthcare is always a little touchy subject for a lot of people, but I just wanted to take a look at it. I've done some other videos on healthcare in Europe, but this one here had like 20 something million, let me see, views or something like that. Let me check on this guy. It had, like 20 something, had 2 million views and but like 20 something thousand comments. So I figured that this was going to be a pretty good one to take a look at. So in fact, let's see, let's check on some of the comments here. So this says here, I don't know, you might not be able to see that. Let's see. I know, you know, you're European when he says 60 euros and you're like, that's too expensive. That's funny. All the dislikes are Americans that believe European healthcare is communism. Yeah, that's true. Let's see here. This one says healthcare be like USA, pay to win. Europe is free to pay. This guy talking, chair, allow me to sing the hymn of my people. He's still talking about his chair was squeaking a lot. But anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but it's worth me kind of telling my story a little bit so you can kind of hear it. Hey, if you have any comments, go ahead and put those in the comments. That would be great. Just curious to know if you're an American and you visited Europe at some point, did you have an experience similar to his? And if you're here in Europe, I mean, tell us what you think about this video. That would be really great just to hear from you. So give the video a like before we get out of here. And Thanks for joining me today. My name is Greg, and we will catch you on the next video. Peace.